All right. Well, hello, 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 and welcome to What's Your Everest? So, hi, Karla. How are you?
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you. So Karla, my friend Karla here is she is the creator of What's Your Everest, which is it's a show about sports psychology. She is a certified mental game coach and a sports psychologist, and of course the founder of What's Your Everest. So each time we do the show, it features conversations with everything to do with competitive sports and sports training. So we've talked to trainers and coaches and athletes, and we're really looking at
Mhm.
the mental health side of competitive sports. So today we are going to dig into the intersection of golf and mental health. Karla, who do we have joining us today?
It's actually really exciting. We've got Robert Jones Black, who is the great grandson of the legendary Bobby Jones. And Robert has also founded the Generation Next project to honor his great grandfather and his legacy to support the ongoing mental health crisis, especially for youth in golf. We also have Taylor Roberts, who was the 2017 Florida State Golf Association Girls Junior Player of the Year. And she's a sophomore at the University of Florida, majoring in education, and she's a member
Wow.
of the women's golf team there. And lastly, we've got her good friend Phoebe Brinker, who's a sophomore at Duke University, my alma mater, and she's on the women's golf team there as well. And she's studying public policy with minors in computer science and
Wow.
English.
Wow. So
It's an accomplished team
I
for
know
sure.
I'm exhausted just thinking of all that they're doing. So, well, thanks so much, Karla. And thanks to everyone who is watching us live. Just a reminder that you can say hello so we know you're here and ask questions in the comments. And of course, we're grateful for everyone watching after the show as well. So, welcome everyone to What's Your Everest?
All right.
Hi, good morning, guys.
All
Good
here.
morning.
All right. Hello, 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 and welcome. So, actually, I'm gonna move us around. I always like to give our guests the top spot there. There we go. All right, fantastic. So, okay, so today we're talking. So yes, welcome everyone, and thank you for being here. Today we're talking about the power of golf to teach lessons about mental health and to raise awareness around mental health. Taylor, I had thought that we would start with you because you came to this whole project, after acknowledging some of your own mental health struggles as a competitive golfer. Would you mind sharing with us what happened and then why is it so important right now to bring awareness to youth and teen mental health?
So a year and a half ago, it was like the lowest point of my life. I struggled with depression and anxiety, and just with like everything that happened with COVID and being a student athlete, I was really down about life and just like didn't know my purpose anymore. But after going through therapy and learning different skills, I took a 6-month class in dialectical behavior therapy
Mhm.
that helped me gain a new perspective of life. And I learned so much during that time period that I wanted to give back to other people. And honestly, if it wasn't for my mother, seeing how like I wasn't myself when I came home from my freshman year at college, I don't know where I would be today. So I think it's important for people to know, like see signs in other people and themselves.
Mm.
um,
Mhm.
so me and Phoebe and Robert and the AJGA, which is a junior golf association, is partnering to create the Impact Cup, which is a charity event that helps create awareness for mental health and gives back to the community.
Oh, fantastic. And Karla, can you just in like one sentence, just so viewers know dialectical behavior, because I know that's a specific thing to help people with mental health issues.
Yeah, absolutely. It was created by Marsha Linehan, and it's all about really starting to reframe situations, not going to the furthest extreme
Mm.
of the negative, about seeing if there are other possibilities, checking out the facts, things like that.
Hmm. So, uh, Carla, so based on your great grandpa, actually, I think Carla, you even know more about that, about Robert's grandpa, Bobby Jones, and how with his mental health struggles. just looking at the work you're doing now, and then like the generation next project, like honoring his legacy. How did you make that connection with golf?
Well, I think I would say growing up and everything, it's always been kind of a humble environment with the family in terms of our, just the relationship itself. There's a lot of focus on his golf story. But in I guess my later years, I've really started taking an appreciation to his writing and what he always seemed to want to illustrate to an audience, if it was writing a book or if it was an interview, was this direct correlation between how the game of golf and the game of life really reflect each other. So when I started the Generation Next project and saw that as just a moment of reflection and embracing that part of the legacy to help build my own voice and my own initiatives to address the issue. So he, when the 20s and 30s time frame, this was not something that was publicly discussed. He didn't label it as mental health. He just was speaking of how he interpreted the game of golf and how that reflected to his trials and tribulations in life. So it was just pretty fascinating that he was doing this unintentionally knowing that he was doing it.
It's an interesting thing, actually, because there are a variety. Golf is one of those games where you just have so much time to think and get in your head. And that can be a really positive thing because it can be so meditative, and people who are just playing for fun get to really enjoy that. But then, of course, once you get more competitive, there is that opportunity to get into your head. How have you guys each dealt with some of the negative self-talk, whether you're viewing it as concentration or whether it's getting in your way? Like, how have you guys dealt with it? How about you, Phoebe?
Yeah, I think golf is one of the most mentally challenging sports, even more than physical, probably mostly mental. And so I think just being a college golfer, we have a lot of expectations and a lot of drive to be perfect. And I think sometimes it's hard to kind of leave the perfectionism behind and just know that if you're working your hardest and trying your best, that's all you can do. I'm really lucky to have a lot of support here, especially in my my coaches at Duke. And I kind of just try to replace those thoughts. So having kind of a line, mine is like, stay confident. So I'll just tell myself that when the negative self-talk starts.
There's that famous book by, I think, Bob Rotella, right? Golf is not a game of perfect.
Yeah.
I go next, but actually Robert came out with an article about being imperfect. That's something that I've been trying to implement in my own life, on the golf course and off the golf course, because like Phoebe said, like as student athletes, like we try to be perfect in every aspect of our lives, and it's just like it's not possible to accept. So I think it's important to accept that we all are imperfect and we're humans, and when you hit a bad shot, it's okay, and just it's the next one that's important. Something I've been working on is tapping, like the tapping technique. So that's really helped me replace not just replace the negative self-talk, but accept it and then know that it's okay, that it's there. And that's really helped me. And a quote that I use is like, it's important to like believe in myself. And actually tapping, I wrote, like I came up with a phrase called, or I deserve to believe in myself. And when I was tapping, I was like, what do I want to believe? And that's how I came up with that. And Robert actually wrote an article about that and how his article of being imperfect kind of tied into that.
Well, and his article that he sent out, I find this fascinating about the whole connection with the article. First of all, because now Robert, as a writer, was that angst of like putting your writing out into the world, and you were thinking, should I send this out? You sent it out to a small group of people, one of whom was Taylor. Taylor, you were in the middle of a tournament that was actually not going the way that you wanted to, and his article really spoke to you and literally turned things around. So I'd love to hear that from both your perspectives, because that's so powerful.
Yeah, it was actually one of my first tournaments coming back. So when I was depressed, like I took the whole summer off to work on myself. Like my main priority was getting myself to be happy again. And so it was like one of my first times like being in a tournament situation again. And I had shot 78 the first round of the tournament, and I was just like, oh, it didn't go the way I wanted to, and I was really hard on myself after it finished. And I opened up my email, I saw it was from Robert, and I was like, I need to read this something. And I saw the title, and just everything he wrote clicked with me. And just believing in yourself and being imperfect was the two things. And I wrote the initials of each of those things, so BI, on my golf ball. And the next day I went out, and literally that's all I tried to do was just accept it and believe in myself. And I went out and played a really good round of golf. And I think, as Phoebe said, like, golf is so mental. Like, everyone says it's 90% mental and 10% physical ability. And I truly believe that. And Robert's article definitely, it hit home for me, to say the least.
How have you guys been able to maintain the fun in the game? Because that's something where you initially get into golf and you continue with it, or any sport for that matter, because you're enjoying it and it's fun. And somewhere along the line, it becomes a little bit more of a job. How do you get back to the fun? And, maybe each of you can answer, and Robert specifically with the retreat you're doing for fathers and children with golf.
I'll start first, and anybody watching that knows me knows that the mental anguish of my golf game is as extreme as it can get. So I have to deal with the negative thoughts every time I step on the golf course. That's not an inherited gene that people magically get. The amount of discipline and practice that goes into this game, along with any competitive sports, is substantial. I played soccer at Appalachian State University, so I did get the collegiate sports experience, and the discipline and the pressures and everything that come with it, which I think really helps here. But I think, yes, with what we wanted to do with the charity, I did not want to get into a position where we were becoming clinical with our message. What I wanted to see was something that was more motivational and then experiential. And so with the program that we created, that's really focused on dads and then their kids and that relationship with their kids, is just building a program around golf where, when they go through the retreat process, 95% of it is intended to be fun and something that they're going to cherish for years after the event itself takes place. But what we're hoping is, again, a lot like how Bobby Jones' messages were, we want to show them the golf game, let them go out and enjoy it, have them preloaded on certain concepts of course management and tempo and adversity, and where those high emotions came from and where those low emotions came from, because they're going to happen in every round of golf. And then as they kind of dive into that post round in a nice casual exploratory setting, we're going to just flip it, just like Bobby Jones always did with his writing, and say, watch how the exact same things we just talked about with that golf round apply to how you can manage your life and how you can manage your emotions through life. And most important, looking at that communication between the father and the child in that process, and letting, hopefully, the father walks away seeing that that authoritarian figure that I grew up with and generations before did doesn't work as well in the family nucleus, that now there's really the need for empathy and emotional understanding. So, but fun is the driver of that. I feel like that's our mission, is to make sure that it's the experience that's the real takeaway, and they don't feel like that that it was an intense therapy session or anything. That's for you guys.
Everybody lie down on the grass.
We have couches laid out for everyone. We just want it to be something that they take away the experience, and and it is the fun is the biggest word.
What's interesting though, when you say it's not, I do want to actually talk a minute, because there's a lot of power going on right here as far as that intersection between how important it is to care for your mental health. But I don't know if you realize how many tactics have come out through this. Even just, they always say, like, as far as if you want to get kids to talk or teens to talk, that side by side is a much better way to do it. So just the fact that they're walking side by side is even a way to engage people. But Karla, you're probably going, oh yes, that's that one. talk about, I'm thinking tapping, because tapping is also a specific tactic that people do to help with trauma and with mental health. But talk about this a little bit. You all are phenomenal. The way that you're integrating approaches to managing positive mental health just into your normal practice. So Karla, can you highlight that? Because these are real practices that people use and learn.
Absolutely. And sports psychology came out of psychology. So you are using all kinds of things that people have used for over a century, probably longer, but formalized a century ago, whether it's the EMDR tapping technique, which is more modern, but specifically connecting thoughts with behaviors, understanding what's going on. I mean, whenever you're competing, it's not just you and the other athletes or you and the field, it's you and your whole childhood history that's all of a sudden out there coping with some kind of adversity or what your place is in life, things like that. So it's definitely very psychological.
So what I think, speaking of psychological, before Phoebe and Taylor spontaneously combust, I am going to let the two of you talk about, which I know you're dying to talk about and we want to know about. Tell us about the Impact Cup. So you both have your own experience. You're lifelong friends. You focused on mental health together. And now you're planning, I think this is the inaugural tournament that's all for young people and for mental health. So who wants to go first? Whose idea was it and who reached out to who to do it together?
I'll let Taylor start because we've been doing this together. So it was Taylor first brought it, and then I instantly was like, I need to be involved. So I'll let Taylor start.
Okay.
I mean, Phoebe has been like the best partner. We actually hosted a tournament a year ago called the Senior Cup, and when I had the idea to create a tournament to create mental health awareness, I instantly thought of Phoebe because we worked so well last time, and I know as a college athlete we all face some type of struggles mentally, and I knew that we would work really well together to create this tournament and make it happen. And I reached out to the American Junior Golf Association about the idea, and they jumped all over it. They loved it, and they said we just had a recent partner, which is Robert, with the Generation Next project. We'd love for you guys to connect. And that's how my relationship started with Robert. And we all came together. We jumped on a Zoom call and discussed all of these ideas. I mean, you see the logo right there. We sat down and we were like, what do we want it to look like? What do we want? What do we want to tell people about this tournament? Like, what do we want to like create awareness for? And we just sat down, and it envisions like everything that I had thought of. In the golfer, you can see a semicolon, and it just, for me, it represents it. Like, you keep going with life. Like you can pause at a moment of struggle, but you get back up and you try harder. And for me, it represents like my story because I put off golf for an entire summer to focus on myself, but that was like my pause. But here I am now trying to create awareness and help other people.
And Taylor, you were at a very high point. Had you not just won tournaments when you said, I need to focus on my mental health?
Yeah, I had a pretty good freshman season, but I was just not enjoying life, and I needed to put the golfer aside and focus on like Taylor as an individual without golf, and that's what I did for the summer. And then now I'm incorporating the mental side for golf. So I always meditated for like the golf purpose of it, but now I'm meditating to make myself happy without the Taylor that's the golfer.
You know, that just to emphasize what you're saying, I think that's such an important lesson for everyone who's viewing, and actually for any college athlete, that you were competing very well. You were winning tournaments. You realized that you needed to take care of your mental health. So you stepped back and did that. And now you're coming back and just getting back, getting back in there. So giving yourself that space to care for yourself, ultimately you'll be so much stronger. But I think that's an important lesson, because I would imagine that a lot of people in college are thinking, well, I can't do that. If I leave, I'm lost, or I can't get back. So that's really a powerful example.
I want to say how hard it was to like put the time to do that, because I'm a huge competitor. I love winning. I love competing under pressure, and to take myself out of like some of the biggest tournaments over the summer was one of the hardest things I've done. I got invites to tournaments all over the country, and I remember the first one that I said no to, I was crying. I was like, "I don't wanna not play." And then I realized how much work I had accomplished within myself for 2 weeks that I took that time off, and I was like, "If I do this all summer, I'm gonna be a whole new person," and, it's the best decision I've ever made because I'm way happier than I was a year and a half ago, and I'm just a new person who appreciates the little things in life, and that's what I wanna share with other people. But
Well, it's kind of an interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Phoebe also has, like, a big role in the Impact Cup and has her own story too, and I think the work of us that we have done together is gonna create a lot of change.
Yeah, I just think there's such a need for this type of event, especially for us being in college during the summer, just because we're so busy. And it's kind of one of those things where we're like, oh, we have homework to do, we're traveling, we have tournaments, and it just builds up so much. And it's hard to even have time to give yourself space to reflect and focus on yourself. And so even if we can do this for 3 days, 3 days is better than none. So I'm really glad that we're doing this.
And there's plenty of research actually about the value of taking a break. That rest is a meaningful exercise. And people will often think, and even at the completely elite professional level, that they've got to train, practice, play, and nobody's taking a sufficient break. But we all need a mental health break. Our body needs time to repair and recuperate. And sometimes we need to take a day off, sometimes a week, sometimes 5 weeks or longer. For sure.
I'm going to put back up, I will throw out there that with the Impact Cup, so the whole thing is based on each golfer. So you have, what is it, 25 or 28 golfers, and then each person is raising money. And the money ultimately, that also connects all three of you together. So it will, what are some of the programs that the money that is being raised will support? And who knows that the best?
I'll speak. Well, if I could, I'll speak to it because we're honored enough to be selected by Taylor and Phoebe to be one of the two beneficiaries. So the funds that are raised, 50% goes to Generation Next Project and 50% goes back to the AJGA's Leadership Links and ACE grant program. I'll speak very quickly on both. AJGA Leadership Links, which is what drew me to be or wanting to be a partner with them, is a program where they're teaching their members, which are high school kids, how to be good stewards to their community and pick an issue that they care about and raise money for it. So it's a voluntary program, but they really do incentivize the members that do participate to get special golf access and trips and meeting Jack Nicklaus and these incredible things.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really, really great to see that being produced by the AJGA. Generation Next, we work on two sides. One is funding the golf retreat programs that we were speaking about. The second is we also support a group called the Positivity Project, which is a social and emotional learning curriculum for schools. It has a cost associated to it. So not all schools can get access to the Positivity Project, but it is a curriculum that has a teacher support mechanism to it, online, all the content's created. And the waiting list, they've been contacted over and over by schools throughout the country to get it, but they just cannot get it into their budgets, especially with the budget constraints post-COVID. So we look for that. And then as we grow into, we're in our infancy, we're not even a year old yet. We really want to focus on content and messaging and just getting the story out. And so that's down the road. Our investments will also turn over to content creation, audience development, so that we can get masses to understand the issue. And most important, how to address these issues before they become something is really what we want to see is mental, Dr. Fishbein, mental fitness. That's my new favorite thing. That's what we really want to see is a change. That people are just as aware of their mental fitness as they are about their physical fitness.
Yeah, it's very, very relevant. And especially now, whether you're talking about the social emotional learning, you see how people tend to treat each other, whether we're talking about on the highway or on the playground. It's really kind of amazing how rude people have become, or short-tempered, or displeased and irritable. So turning things around somehow, and we're all ushers in that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Robert, is your book, we touched on your book. So it sounds like you have a very transparent process. So you actually have a blog where I find that fascinating, because part of the thing I have heard, if you like give your name, your inner voice a name, mine's had like a few different names as she evolves. But like if you put
Multiple personality.
right. No, I did have a friend once where I explained like this negative inner voice, and she goes, I never heard of that. She goes, and if I had one, it would actually be too positive. It's always telling me I'm great.
Yeah.
So I was like, God, that would be fantastic. But you talked about using your blog and your email as a way to actually be transparent about putting your book out. So does the book tie into the ideas of how you're using golf to help mental health? Is that what's driving the book? And then, and does your
Yeah,
process connect that?
it really is. It's
Mhm.
it's a little bit more focused on the book concept is kind of my own personal journey that's happening in real time about the just discovery of wanting to live a life that's driven by purpose.
Mhm.
And once that kind of hit with me, I was like, I don't know, just I come up with wild ideas sometimes, but I was like, how about if I just found out about Substack and the benefits that this, kind of this blog 2.0 program. But I was like, how about if I actually, to use your word, was transparent about the book writing process and let people follow it as I was following how I want to create this message about creating a life that is driven through purpose, but also redefining success. Because my own personal story, that I think is what's so connecting to Taylor and to Phoebe, is my own struggles with anxiety and depression and everything. But one of the things that I discovered, especially in the past 12 months, was a lot of this was just self-induced pressure on what I considered success.
Mhm.
And so I'm attacking with
Mm.
this book. I want
Mhm.
people to understand that purpose is not some unachievable thing that only a select handful of people in this world can come across. We can all find our purpose. But I think part of the ease of that is that you redefine your interpretation of what success looks like. So this is we'll see how this goes. I was texting with Taylor this morning on some news that she had this week, which we are gonna drop this, Taylor. I'm going to. And I was just saying, you're writing your book real time right now. We are all doing that. I think it helps mentally to just have that clarity and understand that the actions that I take and the words that I put out onto Substack are creating a path, but it is a real time.
Mm.
Somebody asked me today, how's the book going to end? I will proudly say to them, I don't know yet.
Well, this is a perfect transition to
Yes.
the show that we always ask every time. Karla, turn it right to you.
Yeah, for each of you, on the note of purpose and success, what's your Everest? What's next for you? What's your goal?
Can they go first?
Yeah. I think our Everest is creating awareness for mental health with our charity golf event and just raising money for that. But outside of the event, I just want to, if I can impact one life, that will make the difference for me, just to create awareness and help other people. I don't know what my future will entail, but I know if I stay happy within myself, I can affect other people around me.
How about you,
Absolutely.
Phoebe?
I'm going to echo everything she just said. I think that we're at such an amazing time in our lives right now, and I just want us both to really take advantage of every single day and the opportunities that we all have, while also taking the time to focus on ourselves and everyone we love. So that's my Everest.
Mm-hmm.
Mine, I'm going to say, is that I've got two right now, young people that we are having some sort of influence on each other with. And I want that 2 to become 4, that 4 to become 8, that 8 to become 16. I'm not going to rush the process, but if I see that happen, and along the way, I think it's important too, that I really want to. I've been very fascinated with the word legacy for years, and I think this is another, really kind of neat side story for me and my Everest is. I'm incredibly grateful and humbled to who I am related to, and I want to cherish that and value that. But to me, it's how do you go beyond and how do you take that to a personal brand and personal level? So my Everest is that there is that gradual rise where the voice has value to it and it has the association of Bobby Jones, but it's not the voice of Bobby Jones. It's the voice of a descendant of Bobby Jones. And I think that's really important for me right now.
Well, fantastic. Thank you all so much for being here. Congratulations for all the great work that you're doing. And thank you so much. Your transparency, the way that you share your journey can only have such an amazing positive impact for others. So you can support Taylor and Phoebe on the Impact Cup. When you go to that website, we'll put it in the show notes, but you can actually donate to that as well. And of course, you can find Karla at Everest Strong Coaching. Thank you so much. And also you can see all the shows on both Everest Strong Coaching on YouTube and Facebook as well. Thank you so much. Karla, do you have any closing words for us?
Oh, I guess just keep having fun.
Yeah. Actually, I like it. We'll close with Sarah. Sarah Steingraber, inspirational. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you all for what you're doing. Yep. And we'll see you, everyone, next time on What's Your Everest. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.